Is Tesla's Roadster SpaceX edition going to shave 0.8 seconds off the 0 to 60 as Elon Musk claims? Or is this just going to be another failed prophecy like his Hyperloop? I think it is no way that it's going to affect the car in any way, shape, or form. It's only going to be a detriment. But it's definitely not going to shave 0.8 seconds off the quarter mile. And here's why. If you were to take a small RC-sized jet engine thruster, you're looking at about $4,000-ish per thruster. Now, I would say that any kind of compressed gas, even if it's 10,000 psi, isn't going to blow out as much force as a jet engine. I hope you would agree with that. So, the jet engines here for $4,000 a piece peak out, see right there, 56 pounds of thrust. That's how much that little jet engine can push. Now, there are some that can produce just a little bit more. This one here, 89 pounds of thrust, if you feel like spending $12,000 on it. 89 pounds of thrust. With power, it's going to take from the batteries just running this jet engine plus jet fuel. And another thing I found is that you have to maintain this engine every 25 hours with a $250 overhaul, which is just awful. Can't believe that's a possibility. 25 hours is not a lot of runtime. This is insane. So, if you look at some of these people who are claiming, like this guy, Engineering Explained, he claims that with, I believe it was 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's about 8 thrusters, maybe 10 thrusters, at a 10,000 psi pressure, he's going to be able to produce enough thrust to lift the car. Can you see that? He's claiming that it will lift the car. That's impossible. This car weighs in at, I don't remember what it was, 4,000 pounds? Yeah, 4,000 pounds. So for you to lift 4,000 pounds, and you're getting 89 pounds of thrust out of each one, I mean, you're looking at 45, 50 jet engines on this car. And he claims 10 cold gas thrusters are going to lift this car. They claim it might be a cool party trick. There's all kinds of YouTube videos about it if you look on the internet. And by doing the math of it being capable of lifting the car, he then deduces that it can get down to a 1.1 second 0 to 60 versus the 1.8 by just the electric motors. Yeah, if it had enough thrust, which I just showed you is about 50 turbine engines, it could get down to 1.1 seconds. Sure. But how in the hell does he think that 10 thrusters, only 2 of which are pointed towards the back, pushing out 10,000 psi of air pressure, are going to get you a 0.8 second reduction in your 0 to 60. It's impossible. There's no way. Then you have to take into account these little buggers here. So this is a military grade air compressor. It does not produce 10,000 psi. But it's pretty hefty. I'd imagine Teslas would look something like that. Look at those power cables. How much power do you think that's going to draw off the battery? A lot. And to get out to 10,000 psi, it's going to take you a long, long time, as you can see by this article right here. So, this guy right here gets up to 300 bar. If you have a 1 liter tank, it'll get you a 300 bar in 8.5 minutes. If you have a 6.8 liter tank, it's going to get you there in an hour. 1 hour. And this is not 10,000 psi. I believe this one got up to 4,000 psi. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's definitely not 10,000. It's closer to 4,000 psi, and this is used for random crap. But 1 hour with that big of a motor, these small little air compressor lines, that giant motor on it, getting up to 4,000 psi in 1 hour. If you have a decent sized tank. In order for him to thrust through the entire 1 second, anywhere near 10,000 psi, you're going to need a lot bigger tank. That tank's going to be huge. And there's untold dangers in having a giant 10,000 psi tank in the back of your car. That's awful. You're going to have this compressor running. You're just going to drive around with a tank full of 10,000 psi. You're going to have an air compressor running for 2-3 hours, robbing you of your range for you to just make some noise. Who knows about the noise complaints? You're probably going to get a lot of noise complaints blowing off. If you've ever seen an air compressor blow off an airline, it produces a lot of noise. Ton of noise. So, as you can see here, 56 pounds of thrust running on kerosene. I think there's no possible way, even with these 89-pound thrusts, even with these 89-pound thrust engines, you would need 10 of them to get 890 pounds of thrust. Your car weighs 4,000 pounds. So you're still going to need a whole lot more in order to lift the car. At least 50. Plus the fuel tanks, plus the lines, plus the battery to run that, the wiring. You really think that the SpaceX edition of the Tesla Roadster is going to have this giant compressor running and filling up a giant tank of air just to make a bunch of noise? Because it's definitely not going to do what he says. Definitely not going to lift that car up. It's definitely not going to push you down to 1.1 seconds. This is something I'm hearing all over the internet, that Elon Musk says the SpaceX edition will get 1.1 seconds with the cold gas thrusters. This is as ridiculous an idea as the Hyperloop. It will not happen. Elon Musk is lying to all of us yet again, and his fanboys, at least 6 that I've counted already, are eating this up for dinner. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's possible that a cold gas thruster that looks like that is going to push out more force than an 89-pound jet engine, 89-pound thrust jet engine that looks like this? Right there. $12,000 jet engine. You really think that it's possible that his cold gas thrusters, even at 10,000 psi, are pushing out more air pressure than that guy? Highly, highly doubt it. Cold gas thrusters work great in zero gravity because you could probably just blow on a spacecraft and it would move. There's almost no resistance. There's no air to resist against. There's almost no gravity to resist against. It's very easy to move around in space. Not so much on Earth. The physics of this do not work. I haven't seen any videos yet exposing the lie of Elon Musk that he thinks 2 cold gas thrusters pushing 10,000 psi air pressure, if he can even achieve 10,000 psi air pressure, can push more than this jet engine at 56 pounds. With these engines, you're looking at 80 engines to get 4,000 pounds of lift. Now, the claim was that it can lift the car up. It's impossible. Even if you had them on the sides to help with handling or the front to help with braking, you are not going to get any effect. You're just going to get a lot of noise. It is barely going to affect the car. There are too many other physics at play. It's just not going to happen. So, sorry, this phone is terrible. So again, you see, .300 bar, which I believe is 4,000 psi. That's 300 times the atmosphere of the Earth. 300 bar for a 6.8 liter tank is 58 minutes. So this thing, to fill up 10,000 psi, which is what this guy claims and several others claim. See it off in the corner there? 10,000 psi. Top left corner there. 10 cold gas thrusters, 10 psi. He did all this math. This retarded amount of math. And then right when he gets to this point, he goes from doing actual math, this whole section here, he goes from actual doing math to doing fairy tales. He claims that he can lift up the entire car with the cold gas thrusters, and therefore he can calculate out how much it takes to lift the car and add it to the 0-60, which brings you from 1.8 to 1.1. And he even claimed it can get down to 1.0. This guy is a nutcase. It's impossible. There's no way this is going to happen. Do any of you Tesla fans actually believe that this is going to happen? That the SpaceX Tesla Roadster is going to be able to lift up itself 4,000 pounds plus whoever's in it, their luggage and everything, just because it's shooting air down in the ground? Now, I know air compressors can produce a lot of force. I've seen airlines blow out. It can produce some force when it's bottled down. But even a big compressor at 120 psi drains out pretty fast. Does not take that long. You jack it up to 10,000 psi, that air is going to be moving even faster. How is it possible that that's going to make it the whole 0-60? I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it helping the Roadster. I can't see it producing enough thrust to lift it. I can't see it producing enough thrust to actually slow it down or even help in the turns. It's just simply not enough. You would be better off putting jet engines all over your car. And even then, I mean, jet engines, you rev them up and you rev them down. You can't use it. It's not an instantaneous thrust. I mean, just imagine the amount of piping going through this car for you to have 10 thrusters all over the body like this. 10,000 psi hoses. Imagine how big that hose has to be able to handle that kind of flow and pressure. I think this thing is a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. And just like the Hyperloop, this is another one of Elon Musk's fairy tale dreams that are never going to come true. I can guarantee you, I will bet $1,000 that this will never come true. This is going to get deleted, just like the new Model S Plaid Plus. It's going to get deleted, just like the Hyperloop got deleted. Now it's just a slow speed tunnel highway underneath Las Vegas for way too much money. I'm sure I can go into further detail if you guys wanted. I have no money to do production value. Sorry about that. But who actually believes the Tesla Roadster can do a 1.1 second 0 to 60 because it blows air out the back? And if it was that simple, drag racing cars would have been doing it for centuries. It's not that easy. You can do jet engines, but you need a hell of a jet engine. Even these jet engines, no drag racing car out there is actually putting jet engines on the back of their car because it would pretty much be pointless. The amount of thrust that 2, 3, 4 of these things put out is negligible compared to the amount of power the engine is putting out. 56 pounds of thrust. So each one of these will reduce half of a small human being's weight. Very small human being. I'm about 180. It would take 4 of those just to eliminate my weight in that car. 4. And he thinks 2 thrusters are going to do it to get you down 0.8 seconds. It's not going to happen. Even these big ones. This is the biggest one I could find on Amazon. $12,000. 89 pounds of thrust. This is ridiculous. And I think we all need to start calling Elon out for his lies a lot sooner. People need to stop believing him. You can't believe what this guy is saying every time he says it. A lot of what he says is just straight up bullcrap. Physically impossible. To tell me that the lead engineer for SpaceX and Tesla is coming up with stupid ideas like this tells me that Elon Musk is not actually an engineer. He's not. I think he stole the ideas he's using, but that's another point. This is impossible. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. Appreciate all the time.